Have you ever felt like the world around you is falling apart? People criticize you, situations overwhelm you, and negativity seems to follow you everywhere. How do you stay calm when everything feels chaotic? How can you protect your peace in a world that constantly tests your limits? Let's consider a simple example. Imagine you're walking down a busy street, and suddenly, someone bumps into you, spilling coffee on your shirt. The natural reaction might be frustration, anger, or embarrassment. But what if, instead, you simply acknowledged it, let go, and kept walking with a smile? What if you remained unshaken by the chaos around you? This is the essence of staying unshaken. Having the ability to keep your peace despite external negativity. And this is exactly what Buddhism teaches us. How to cultivate an inner peace that cannot be disturbed by the world outside. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore how to rise above negativity and live a life full of balance and harmony. In this video, we'll dive deep into Buddhist wisdom that can help you stay calm and unshaken in any situation. Whether you're dealing with criticism, stress, or negativity, the teachings of Buddhism can provide practical tools to protect your peace. But before we begin, here's something important. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of people actually subscribe. So, if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more transformative content to help you grow and find peace. Now, let's embark on this journey together and discover how to stay unshaken in the face of life's challenges. Understanding the roots of negativity. To stay unshaken in negativity, we must first understand where negativity comes from. Why do we feel overwhelmed when things go wrong? Why do our minds spiral into worry, fear, and anger when faced with challenges? Buddhism teaches that the roots of negativity lie within our minds, and understanding these roots is the first step to transforming our reactions. At the core of our negativity, there are three primary poisons: greed, hatred, and delusion. These are not things we see on the outside. They are deeply embedded in our hearts and minds, often without us realizing it. These poisons grow when we become attached to things we desire, when we react out of anger, and when we live in a state of confusion or misunderstanding. Greed manifests when we desire things beyond our reach. We want more money, more success, more validation. We want things to go our way, and when they don't, we feel frustrated and disappointed. This craving for more can never be satisfied, and it leads to a constant state of wanting, which makes it impossible for us to experience true peace. Hatred arises when we encounter things we don't like, things or people who hurt us, betray us, or make us feel small. Hatred grows in the form of resentment, bitterness, and anger. We may hold on to grudges for days, weeks, or even years, and this only keeps us trapped in negativity. The longer we hold on to hatred, the more power it has over our emotions, often leading to a cycle of pain that we cannot escape. Delusion is the confusion we carry in our hearts. It's the misunderstanding of reality, where we think we know what's best for us, but in reality, we're misled by our attachments. We cling to false beliefs about who we are, what we want, and how the world should treat us. This delusion blinds us from seeing things clearly, causing us to make decisions based on mistaken assumptions. When we're deluded, we think we know the truth, but we're actually trapped in our own limited perspective. Now, imagine you are a gardener. In your mind, you've planted seeds of greed, hatred, and delusion. But these seeds grow into thorny weeds. The more you water them with your attention, the bigger they grow. They take over your garden, making it impossible to grow flowers or vegetables. If you want to cultivate a peaceful, balanced life, you must pull out these weeds, one by one. Buddhism teaches us that these three poisons are the root causes of suffering, both for ourselves and others. When we understand that greed, hatred, and delusion are the real enemies, we can begin to break free from their grip. But this requires mindfulness, awareness of what is happening inside us at all times. So, how do we begin to uproot these poisons from our hearts and minds? The first step is to recognize them when they arise. In every situation, ask yourself, am I acting out of greed, hatred, or delusion? This simple question brings awareness to your feelings and actions, and with awareness, you gain the power to change. For example, if you feel a sense of greed arising, Maybe a desire for something you can't have. Take a moment to pause. Breathe deeply and observe that feeling without judgment. Recognize that your desire is not you. It is simply a passing emotion, not a permanent part of who you are. When you can observe your desires without becoming attached to them, they lose their power over you. When hatred arises, maybe in the form of anger or frustration, notice it. You might feel upset when someone cuts you off in traffic or when a friend betrays you. Instead of reacting immediately, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, what is the root of this anger? What am I truly upset about? Often, anger arises when we feel hurt or misunderstood. By recognizing this, we can respond with compassion instead of reacting with hate. Delusion is more subtle. It shows up when we believe things that aren't true, like thinking that we know the best path for our life, or that we deserve things that we haven't earned. Delusion keeps us stuck in false beliefs. When we recognize this confusion, we can gently remind ourselves that life is not as we think it should be. Instead of trying to control everything, we can learn to accept life as it is, moment by moment. It's important to understand that these poisons are not permanent. Just as weeds can be pulled out and new seeds can be planted, we can uproot greed, hatred, and delusion from our minds. This process takes time, patience, and consistent practice. You cannot simply get rid of these poisons overnight. It is a lifelong journey of awareness, self-compassion, and change. In Buddhism, this practice of uprooting negativity is called mindfulness. Mindfulness means paying attention to what is happening in your mind, body, and emotions at each moment. When you are mindful, you can recognize the seeds of negativity before they grow into big weeds. The more mindful you are, the easier it becomes to pull out these weeds as soon as they appear. Let's look at an example. Imagine you're having a conversation with someone, and they say something that offends you. Immediately, you feel the seed of anger arise. If you're not mindful, you might react by snapping at them or holding on to that anger for the rest of the day. But if you're practicing mindfulness, you will notice the anger as soon as it arises. You can take a deep breath, pause, and choose a different response. Instead of letting the anger control you, you can respond calmly or even let it go completely. This ability to stay present and observe our thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them is the key to transforming negativity. It's like standing outside a storm, watching the wind and rain, but not being swept away by it. You don't have to become the storm. You can simply observe it and remain unshaken. Buddhism also teaches that the more we cultivate mindfulness, the more we can reduce the power of these poisons. Over time, we will find ourselves less reactive to the world around us. Instead of immediately jumping to anger or fear, we'll begin to respond with wisdom and compassion. But mindfulness is not always easy. The world is full of distractions, and our minds are constantly being pulled in different directions. This is why it's important to practice every day, even in small moments. It's not about being perfect, it's about being aware. Every time you catch yourself reacting negatively, you're one step closer to breaking free from these old habits. In summary, the roots of negativity are found in the poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion. By understanding these poisons, we can begin to uproot them from our lives. Mindfulness is the tool we use to recognize when these poisons arise and to choose a different response. With practice, we can transform negativity and begin to live with greater peace and stability. Remember, the journey to staying unshaken is not about being perfect. It's about being aware and choosing peace in every moment. It takes time, but with mindfulness, the weeds of negativity can be replaced with the flowers of compassion, wisdom, and inner calm. So, start today. Every time you become aware of negativity in your mind, take a breath, let it go, and choose peace instead. The art of detachment, freeing yourself from emotional turmoil. When we walk through life, we often encounter moments that stir us deeply. Moments when emotions rise unbidden, when a feeling of anger, frustration, or sadness takes hold of us. These emotions seem to appear out of nowhere, almost like a storm on a calm day. But what if we told you that, just like the weather, emotions come and go, and that you can learn not to let them control you, but to simply watch them pass by? This is the essence of detachment, the ability to observe your emotions without letting them overwhelm you, without letting them define your state of mind. In Buddhism, Detachment is often misunderstood as a cold, distant, or uncaring attitude, but it is not about removing yourself from the world. It's about learning to live in the world without being controlled by it. Detachment does not mean you stop feeling. It means you stop being ruled by those feelings. Imagine a calm lake. On the surface, it reflects everything around it: trees, clouds, people. But no matter how much the wind blows or the rain falls, the lake remains at peace beneath it all. It is not disturbed by what happens above it. This is how we can be, like the lake, reflecting the world, but not allowing the world to disturb our inner peace. The Buddha taught that all suffering begins with attachment to people, objects, or even our own desires. We become attached to things, expecting them to make us happy, and when they change or disappear, we suffer. It is like holding tightly to a rope, not realizing that the rope is pulling us towards something painful. But when we let go, the pain stops. The same happens with emotions. When we attach ourselves to anger or grief, it pulls us deeper into suffering. But if we let go and simply observe these emotions as they arise, they lose their power over us. The practice of detachment begins with mindfulness, the awareness that we are not our thoughts or emotions. We can observe them, notice them, but we do not need to identify with them. For instance, when you feel anger, instead of becoming the anger, you observe, "I feel angry." This simple shift changes your relationship with the emotion. You stop becoming engulfed by it and start seeing it as something temporary, something that will pass. This practice can be challenging, especially when the emotions feel intense. But with patience and repetition, it becomes easier. Like any skill, detachment requires practice. You might start by observing your emotions during small moments, when you feel irritated by something minor, when you are frustrated by a delay, or when you feel sadness over a fleeting thought. These small instances offer the perfect opportunity to practice letting go. In Buddhism, this detachment is not just about letting go of negative emotions. It's also about releasing attachment to positive experiences. When we become attached to the idea of happiness, we begin to fear its loss. If we cling to happiness, it can never last. True peace comes when we let go of both the desire for happiness and the fear of suffering. Life flows freely, and we experience both joy and sorrow without being overwhelmed by either. This doesn't mean that we become indifferent to life or stop caring about others. Detachment doesn't mean closing your heart to the world. In fact, true detachment is a path to greater compassion. When you detach from your own desires and emotional reactions, you become more open to the experiences of others. You stop reacting to them from a place of personal attachment or ego, and you begin to understand their struggles more deeply. Detachment frees you from judgment, allowing you to offer unconditional love and support. The Buddhist teachings on detachment are rooted in the Four Noble Truths. The first truth is that suffering is part of life. The second truth tells us that suffering arises from attachment, our desire for things to be different than they are. The third truth offers the good news: there is a way out of suffering. And the fourth truth teaches us that the path to freedom from suffering lies in the Noble Eightfold Path, which includes mindfulness, right effort, and right concentration. Practices that help us detach from unhealthy attachments. Detachment is closely tied to another Buddhist principle: impermanence. Everything in life is changing, from the smallest pebble to the grandest mountain, from the joy of a sunrise to the sorrow of a sunset. Everything is in constant flux, and nothing stays the same. When we accept this truth, we stop clinging to things as if they will last forever. We stop trying to hold on to emotions, experiences, or even people, knowing that all things arise and fade in their own time. This understanding of impermanence makes it easier to let go. But even with this understanding, detachment can feel difficult, especially when we are confronted with the loss of something or someone we love. In those moments, detachment doesn't mean you don't grieve or feel sadness. It simply means that you don't hold on to the grief. You allow yourself to feel the sorrow, but you don't let it define you. You know that just as joy comes and goes, so too does sorrow. This is where the practice of mindfulness becomes invaluable. When you practice mindfulness, you become present with your emotions without getting caught up in them. You create space between yourself and the feeling. Instead of saying, "I am angry," you say, I am feeling anger right now. This small shift changes everything. It reminds you that you are the observer, not the emotion itself. Detachment also teaches us to be less reactive to the world around us. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded by external events, news, social media, advertisements, and the opinions of others. These things can easily stir our emotions. But when we practice detachment, we stop reacting impulsively. We become more thoughtful in our responses. Instead of immediately jumping into action or anger, we take a moment to pause, breathe, and reflect. Over time, as you practice detachment, you will notice a shift in how you handle challenging situations. You will no longer be easily swayed by the opinions of others or by the ups and downs of life. Your peace will no longer depend on external circumstances. You will be able to stand firm, like a tree with deep roots, weathering the storms of life without losing your balance. This doesn't mean that life will suddenly become perfect. The challenges, the losses, and the difficulties will still arise. But when you cultivate detachment, you are no longer a victim of your emotions. You are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You are free to choose how you respond, and you choose peace. The path to detachment is a journey. It is a lifelong practice that requires patience and self-compassion. You will stumble, you will struggle, and you will make mistakes. But each time you practice, you become stronger. Each time you let go of attachment, you create more space for peace to enter your life. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed by your emotions, or when life feels like it's spinning out of control, remember, you are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer. And just like the calm lake, you can learn to reflect the world without being disturbed by it. Through the art of detachment, you free yourself from the chains of emotional turmoil. You create a life where peace is not a fleeting experience, but a constant companion. And in doing so, you become truly unshaken. Mindfulness as a shield against negativity. In the world of endless distractions and noise, how do we find calm? How do we protect our peace when negativity comes knocking at our door? The answer lies in mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present, of paying attention to the here and now without judgment. It sounds simple, but in practice, it can transform the way we experience life. Imagine you are sitting by a river, watching the water flow by. The current moves swiftly, but the water stays calm. This is how mindfulness works in your mind. It allows you to observe your thoughts, emotions, and reactions without getting swept away by them. Just like the river, you learn to flow with life, without being pulled into the chaos. When negativity arises, it often feels like a storm inside your mind. Thoughts of anger, fear, and frustration swirl around, trying to take control. But through mindfulness, you can stand firm like the stillness of a mountain, unshaken by the storm. You don't resist the emotions, but you don't let them define you either. You simply observe them, acknowledge them, and let them pass. This is the power of mindfulness. It creates space between you and your thoughts, giving you the freedom to choose your response rather than being dragged into an emotional reaction. But how does mindfulness actually work? To understand this, we must first recognize the nature of the mind. Our minds are like a busy marketplace, full of voices, opinions, and distractions. The more we get caught up in the noise, the harder it becomes to hear our own voice, the voice of inner peace. Mindfulness helps us quiet the marketplace, allowing us to focus on what truly matters. One simple practice of mindfulness is focusing on your breath. Take a moment to close your eyes and feel the air as it enters and leaves your body. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, the coolness of the air, and the stillness that follows each breath. By bringing your attention to the breath, you shift your focus away from the noise in your mind. You become anchored in the present moment, and in that moment, you find peace. This simple act of paying attention to your breath can transform your response to negativity. When someone criticizes you, or when life presents a challenge, you can use the breath to center yourself. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, you pause, breathe, and observe. In that brief moment, you create space between stimulus and response. This space is where mindfulness resides, and it is in this space that you can choose how to react, calmly, with clarity, and without being swept away by negative emotions. In Buddhist teachings, Mindfulness is one of the foundations of the Noble Eightfold Path, which guides us toward wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. Mindfulness helps us develop right understanding and right intention. By being fully present, we begin to see things as they truly are, without the distortions of our own judgments or emotional reactions. We begin to see that everything is impermanent, and that the negative thoughts or emotions we experience are also temporary. It's important to remember that mindfulness is not about suppressing or ignoring negativity. It's about observing it without attachment, letting it come and go like clouds in the sky. This practice requires patience and consistency. Just as a muscle grows stronger with practice, so does our ability to remain mindful in the face of challenges. Over time, we develop a deep sense of inner peace, knowing that no matter what storms come our way, we have the tools to stay grounded. Let's consider another example. Imagine you are in a heated argument with someone. The words are sharp, and the emotions are rising. In this moment, you can choose to be swept away by anger and frustration, or you can use mindfulness to create a pause. Take a deep breath. Observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Notice the sensations in your body. Perhaps your heart is racing, your fists are clenched. Instead of reacting impulsively, you step back. You give yourself a moment to breathe, to observe, and to decide how to respond. This moment of mindfulness gives you the power to choose a more peaceful response, one that reflects your true intentions rather than being driven by momentary emotions. Mindfulness also helps us respond with compassion, both toward ourselves and others. When we are mindful, we become more aware of our own suffering and the suffering of those around us. Instead of reacting with judgment or criticism, we respond with kindness and understanding. We recognize that everyone, including ourselves, is doing the best they can with the resources they have. Mindfulness helps us cultivate the compassionate heart, which can soften the impact of negativity. It's important to practice mindfulness not only when negativity arises, but also in the everyday moments of life. The more we practice being present in our daily activities, whether it's eating, walking, or talking, the more we train our minds to be calm and clear. When we are mindful in the small moments, we build the capacity to remain peaceful during the larger challenges of life. In Buddhism, mindfulness is closely tied to the concept of right mindfulness, one of the key elements of the Eightfold Path. Right mindfulness means being fully aware of our thoughts, words, and actions. It's about being present in every moment, noticing when our minds wander, and gently bringing them back to the present. This practice helps us live with greater awareness and intention, rather than simply reacting to the world around us. To deepen your mindfulness practice, try to bring it into everything you do. If you're washing dishes, pay attention to the feel of the water, the texture of the soap, the sound of the plates. If you're talking to someone, really listen to their words without thinking about your own response. If you're walking, notice the sensation of your feet on the ground, the movement of your body. By being present in these small moments, you create a foundation of mindfulness that supports you when larger challenges arise. Mindfulness is not a quick fix, but a lifelong practice. It's a journey of learning to be present with yourself and with the world around you. As you cultivate mindfulness, you'll find that negativity no longer has the same power over you. You'll be able to respond with a calm mind and an open heart, knowing that you are in control of your own peace. In conclusion, mindfulness is a powerful tool for staying unshaken in negativity. By cultivating present moment awareness, we can observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming attached to them. Mindfulness allows us to create space between stimulus and response, giving us the freedom to choose how we react. It helps us develop compassion, clarity, and inner peace. And through consistent practice, we build the strength to remain calm, no matter what challenges life throws our way. So, the next time negativity arises, remember, breathe, observe, and choose peace, compassion, and loving kindness, transforming negativity with love. In the world, there is no greater power than the power of love. It is the force that can heal wounds, calm storms, and transform anger into peace. But many people forget this simple truth, especially when faced with negativity. When someone is rude to us, when life doesn't go as we planned, we can easily fall into the trap of reacting with frustration or resentment. However, what if, instead of reacting, we responded with compassion and loving kindness? wouldn't the world be a better place? The Buddha teaches us that compassion is not just an emotion, but a practice, a way of seeing and being in the world. True compassion comes from understanding the suffering of others and wishing them well, even when they don't deserve it in our eyes. It is easy to show love to those who are kind to us, but true strength lies in being kind to those who challenge us, those who hurt us, and those who bring negativity into our lives. Consider this. When you are hurt by someone's words or actions, there are two ways to respond. The first is to react, to meet negativity with negativity. You might raise your voice, argue, or withdraw in anger. The second is to respond with compassion. Instead of seeing the person as your enemy, you can see them as a fellow traveler on the journey of life, someone who too experiences pain, confusion, and suffering. When you do this, you shift from a mindset of judgment to a mindset of empathy. You no longer take their actions personally because you understand that they, too, are struggling in their own way. This shift in perspective is not always easy. Our natural instinct is to defend ourselves, to fight back, to protect our ego. But the Buddha reminds us that holding on to anger and resentment only keeps us trapped in negativity. It is like holding a burning coal in your hand, hoping to throw it at someone else, but all the while it is you who is getting burned. Compassion is the antidote to this suffering. It allows us to let go of the pain, to release the coal, and to find peace. Loving kindness is another powerful tool that can transform negativity. Loving kindness is the wish for all beings to be happy, peaceful, and free from suffering. It is the practice of sending good wishes and thoughts to others, especially those who may not have been kind to us. When you practice loving kindness, you are not just wishing others well for their sake, but for your own as well. When you hold resentment or anger towards someone, it weighs you down. It keeps your heart heavy and your mind troubled. But when you practice loving kindness, you lighten your heart. You allow yourself to experience freedom from the burden of negativity. In the Buddhist tradition, there is a simple but powerful practice known as metta bhavana, or the practice of loving-kindness meditation. This practice involves sitting quietly and sending thoughts of love and well-being to yourself, to those you care about, and even to those with whom you may be struggling. You start by wishing yourself peace, happiness, and safety. Then, you extend these wishes to others, one by one. You may begin with your loved ones, then move to acquaintances, and eventually to those you may not know personally, including those who challenge you. The beauty of metta bhavana is that it reminds you that you are not separate from the world. We are all interconnected, and by wishing happiness for others, we invite happiness into our own lives. When you offer compassion and loving kindness to someone else, you are also healing yourself. It is like watering a garden. When you nurture the soil with love and care, the flowers bloom. This is the power of compassion and loving kindness. It not only transforms others, but it transforms you. When you meet negativity with love, you are no longer at the mercy of the world. You become like a calm lake, untouched by the waves that may crash upon it. No matter how much negativity the world throws your way, you remain unshaken, because you are rooted in love and compassion. In Buddhism, there is a saying, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This means that no amount of anger or resentment can ever bring peace. The only way to overcome negativity is by responding with love. This is not about ignoring the harm that others may cause, but about choosing not to let their actions disturb your inner peace. You do not have to agree with their actions or condone their behavior, but you can choose to respond with love, understanding, and compassion. As you practice compassion, you begin to see the world through a different lens. Instead of seeing others as threats or obstacles, you begin to see them as fellow human beings who, like you, are searching for happiness and peace. When you understand this, it becomes much easier to let go of anger and embrace compassion. You no longer see the world as a battleground, but as a place of learning, growth, and connection. One of the most profound aspects of compassion is that it frees us from our own suffering. Often, we hold on to grudges, resentments, and anger because we think that holding on to these emotions will somehow punish the person who wronged us. But in reality, it only punishes us. It keeps us trapped in negative emotions, preventing us from experiencing the peace and joy that we deserve. Compassion, on the other hand, sets us free. It allows us to release the pain and move forward with an open heart. You may wonder, but what if the person who hurt me doesn't deserve my compassion? What if they have caused me great harm? This is a valid question, and the answer lies in understanding that compassion is not about excusing someone's behavior or ignoring the harm they have caused. It is about choosing not to let their actions control your emotions. By practicing compassion, you take back your power. You choose how you respond, rather than letting others dictate your feelings. This does not mean you must be passive or allow others to mistreat you. Compassion is about acting from a place of wisdom, not weakness. It means setting boundaries with kindness, speaking your truth with love, and addressing issues with a calm and open heart. When you approach challenges with compassion, you are not reacting out of fear or anger, but responding from a place of clarity and inner strength. In your daily life, try to practice small acts of compassion. Smile at a stranger, offer a kind word to someone who is struggling, or simply listen with an open heart when someone is sharing their pain. Each act of compassion ripples out into the world, creating a chain reaction of love and understanding. The more you practice compassion, the more it becomes a natural part of who you are. It becomes your way of being in the world, and you begin to see the world as a place of connection rather than division. Remember, negativity is not a permanent state. It is a passing cloud, and with the right tools, we can weather any storm. Compassion and loving kindness are those tools. When you choose to meet negativity with love, you open the door to a new way of being. A way that is free from anger, fear, and suffering. A way that is rooted in peace, joy, and connection. As you continue your journey, remember that compassion is not something you must earn. It is already within you. It is a part of your true nature. By simply choosing to nurture it, you allow it to grow and transform your life. The more you practice, the more you will become a beacon of love and peace, shining brightly in a world that so desperately needs it. The middle way, balance in the face of challenges. When the winds of life blow hard, where do you find your balance? How do you stand firm when the world feels like it is spinning around you? The middle way, a core teaching of Buddhism, offers an answer. It teaches us that balance, between extremes, is the key to navigating life's challenges with peace and wisdom. It is a path of moderation, avoiding the extremes of excess and deficiency, the extremes of indulgence and self-denial. But how can we apply this to our daily lives? Imagine you are standing on a tightrope, high above the ground. If you lean too far to one side, you will fall. If you lean too far to the other side, you will also lose your balance. The secret, then, is to find the center, to stay steady no matter the external forces. This is the middle way. In every moment, it is a choice to walk the path of balance, no matter what life throws your way. The middle way is not about avoiding challenges or difficulties. Life will always have its ups and downs. It is about how we respond to those ups and downs. Will we be swept away by every strong emotion, by every opinion that comes our way? Or will we find a way to stand firm, grounded in our own peace and clarity? In Buddhism, we are taught to avoid the extremes of indulgence and asceticism. Indulgence pulls us into the world of excess, too much food, too much entertainment, too much pleasure. We lose ourselves in these things, thinking they will bring us happiness, but they only leave us wanting more. On the other side is asceticism, where we reject pleasure altogether, thinking that only through self-denial can we find peace. This also leads to suffering, as we fight against our natural desires and needs. The middle way finds the balance between these two extremes. It is not about rejecting the world, but learning how to live in harmony with it. This means enjoying the simple pleasures of life, food, friendships, nature, without becoming attached to them. It means recognizing that nothing lasts forever, and that our happiness does not depend on external things. Happiness comes from within. When faced with challenges, the middle way teaches us not to overreact or underreact. If someone criticizes you, it is natural to feel hurt or defensive. But the middle way asks you to pause, to take a breath, and to ask yourself, what is the wisest response in this moment? Should you react with anger, or should you respond with calm and understanding? Neither extreme of overreaction nor passive acceptance is the right answer. The middle way asks us to choose a response that reflects clarity and wisdom. In the face of stress, the middle way also guides us. Too much stress can overwhelm us, leading to burnout and exhaustion. But avoiding stress entirely is not practical in life. We need to find a way to work with stress, to acknowledge it without letting it control us. By staying mindful of our limits and knowing when to take a step back, we can maintain balance even in the most demanding situations. The middle way is a path of moderation in all aspects of life. It is a path that leads to greater peace, less conflict, and a deeper understanding of ourselves. It teaches us that true freedom comes not from rejecting the world or indulging in it, but from knowing how to live within it with wisdom and compassion. In your relationships, the middle way helps you find balance between attachment and detachment. When you care too much about others' opinions or seek approval, you lose your sense of self. But if you detach entirely, you become cold and indifferent. The middle way teaches you to care deeply without becoming overly attached. You can love others without needing them to be a certain way. You can help others without losing yourself in the process. When you face hardships, the middle way helps you find strength. It teaches you that even in the midst of suffering, there is a way to stay balanced. You do not need to deny your pain, but neither should you let it consume you. By embracing your pain with compassion and mindfulness, you can find peace even in the most difficult moments. Life will always present challenges. It is not about avoiding difficulties, but learning how to face them with wisdom and equanimity. The middle way is the art of walking through life with a steady heart, no matter what comes your way. When you are grounded in balance, you can face anything with calm and clarity. To practice the middle way, you must first develop awareness of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Start by observing yourself without judgment. When you feel pulled toward one extreme or another, ask yourself, is this the most balanced choice? Are my actions coming from a place of wisdom, or am I being swept away by emotion or desire? As you walk this path, remember that balance is not a static state. It is dynamic, ever-changing, like walking on a tightrope. Sometimes you will veer too far to one side, but when you notice it, you can gently correct your course. With practice, you will find that staying centered becomes more natural, and the storms of life will have less power over you. Living the middle way requires patience and practice. It is not a path of perfection, but of progress. Every step you take in moderation brings you closer to a life of peace, joy, and freedom. The more you embrace balance in every moment, the more you will feel the profound peace that comes from living in harmony with yourself and the world around you. So, the next time life throws a challenge your way, ask yourself, how can I apply the middle way here? Instead of reacting with anger or fear, can you find the balance that will lead to a more peaceful and wise response? This is the power of the middle way, a power that can transform your life from chaos to calm, from suffering to peace. The path is not always easy, but it is always worth walking. With each step toward balance, you will discover the strength and wisdom to face life's challenges without being shaken. This is the promise of the middle way, a life of harmony, balance, and unshakable peace. The power of impermanence, letting go of what binds you. In life, there is one truth that is constant, one thing that is always changing. Everything is impermanent. The seasons change, people grow, and the world shifts in ways we cannot predict. Even our thoughts, emotions, and the situations around us are not permanent. Yet, we often act as if everything we hold on to will last forever. This attachment, whether to people, possessions, or even the way we see ourselves, creates suffering. Imagine a river flowing through the land. It doesn't stay in one place. It moves, twists, and changes, sometimes gently, sometimes fiercely. It is never the same river at any given moment. So, too, is life. And yet, we try to hold on to the past, the future, or even our expectations, believing they will give us stability. But just like the river, we cannot hold on forever. The Buddha spoke often of impermanence, or anicca, which is one of the 3 marks of existence. It teaches us that nothing in life is permanent. All things come into being, change, and eventually fade away. When we resist this natural flow, we create tension, fear, and frustration. We want things to stay the same because we fear loss, change, and uncertainty. But in reality, change is the only constant in life. When we cling to things, Whether it's a relationship, an idea, or even a moment, we create suffering for ourselves. We fear losing what we have, and in doing so, we miss the beauty of the present moment. We forget that life is about flowing with the changes, not resisting them. If you hold on to something too tightly, it begins to slip through your fingers. The more you hold, the more you lose. Consider how we feel when something dear to us is taken away. A loved one moves away, a job changes, or a favorite possession breaks. It is natural to feel sadness or loss, but these emotions are often tied to our attachment. If we could embrace the impermanence of life, we would find peace in knowing that everything is simply part of the ever-changing flow. We can appreciate what we have without clinging to it. In Buddhist practice, we are taught to let go of attachment, not because we don't care, but because we understand that attachment creates suffering. By releasing our grip on things, we open ourselves to freedom. We don't have to hold on to the past or try to control the future. Instead, we can live fully in the present moment, allowing life to unfold as it will. This understanding of impermanence gives us the power to let go. When we stop resisting the changes in our lives, we stop creating unnecessary suffering. Letting go doesn't mean we become indifferent or detached from the world. On the contrary, it allows us to live more deeply, more fully, and more peacefully. We are able to embrace the moment as it is, without trying to make it something it is not. Think of a tree in autumn, letting go of its leaves. It doesn't hold on to them, trying to keep them from falling. It allows the natural process to happen. The tree trusts that when the leaves fall, new ones will grow in the spring. The same is true for us. If we can trust the process of life and let go, we create space for new opportunities, growth, and transformation. The Buddha teaches that by understanding impermanence, we can also understand the truth of suffering, or dukkha. Suffering arises when we cling to things that are destined to change. Whether it's a job, a relationship, or a belief, when we hold on to it too tightly, we experience pain. But when we release our attachment and accept change, we find peace. This doesn't mean we should not value the things in our lives. We can love, appreciate, and care for what we have, but we must do so with the understanding that everything is temporary. By accepting impermanence, we free ourselves from the fear of losing what we hold dear. We can enjoy the present without fear of the future or regret for the past. One way to practice letting go is through mindfulness meditation. In meditation, we observe our thoughts and emotions without getting attached to them. When a thought arises, we simply notice it and let it pass by. We don't grab hold of it, we don't try to hold on to it, or make it last longer. We let it come, and we let it go. In this way, we train our minds to be more at peace with the natural flow of life. It is in the act of letting go that we discover freedom. We are not bound by the things we once clung to. Instead, we are open to life's endless possibilities. When we learn to live with impermanence, we become more resilient in the face of change. We can weather any storm, knowing that it, too, will pass. Every challenge, every loss, every disappointment is temporary. And with each passing moment, we become stronger, wiser, and more peaceful. When we let go of attachment, we also let go of the need to control. We stop trying to force things to go our way, and instead, we allow life to unfold naturally. This doesn't mean we are passive or indifferent. We can still take action, make choices, and pursue our goals. But we do so without clinging to the outcome. We understand that success, failure, and everything in between are part of the same cycle of life. The beauty of impermanence is that it reminds us that life is always moving forward. We are never stuck. Even in times of difficulty, we can trust that change is coming. Sometimes, we may face hard moments, loss, pain, or struggle, but these are not permanent. If we embrace them as part of the flow of life, we can find the strength to keep going. In Buddhism, the understanding of impermanence is not meant to bring despair, but liberation. When we accept that everything changes, we stop resisting life. We stop trying to hold on to things that were never meant to stay. Instead, we open ourselves to the flow of life and find peace in the knowledge that nothing is fixed. We are free to grow, to change, and to move forward. So, let go. Let go of your need to control the future, your fear of the unknown, and your attachment to what has already passed. Trust that life will unfold as it is meant to, and that you are part of this beautiful, ever-changing journey. By embracing impermanence, you will find a deep sense of peace that cannot be shaken by the storms of life. In the end, the true power of impermanence is that it teaches us to live fully in the present moment. It teaches us to appreciate what we have while we have it, to love without attachment, and to experience each moment as it comes. Life is always changing, and in that change, we find the path to true freedom. Inner peace in a turbulent world, a Buddhist perspective. In this world, turmoil is inevitable. Whether it's the rush of daily life, the chaos in relationships, or the constant changes happening around us, we often find ourselves swept up in negativity and stress. It's as if peace is something distant, something we cannot reach. But in Buddhism, peace is not something external. It is something that we carry within ourselves. The true challenge is not to find peace in the world. It is to cultivate it in our hearts, even amidst the chaos. Think about the stillness of a pond. On a calm day, its surface is smooth, reflecting everything around it. But as soon as a stone is thrown into the water, ripples form, disturbing the quiet. The water's surface becomes turbulent, clouded, and unclear. This is much like the mind. When negativity or challenges are thrown at us, our thoughts can become like the ripples, disturbed and unclear. But the goal is to return to that stillness, the calm that lies beneath the surface. To live with inner peace in a turbulent world, we must first understand that peace is not the absence of challenges or negativity. It is the ability to remain undisturbed by them. The Buddhist teachings are full of wisdom on how to do this. The first step is to acknowledge the impermanence of everything around us. The challenges, the struggles, the pain we face, they are all temporary. They come and go. And understanding this is the key to letting them pass without allowing them to disturb our peace. In Buddhism, this is the concept of anicca, or impermanence. Everything in life is constantly changing, and nothing lasts forever. If we hold on to things too tightly, whether it's a belief, a situation, or a person, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Just like a wave that rises and falls in the ocean, emotions and situations come and go. By understanding that they are temporary, we can let them pass without clinging to them or letting them define our state of mind. Next, we must practice mindfulness. In the Buddhist tradition, mindfulness is not just a technique. It's a way of living. It is the ability to be present in the moment, without judgment, without attachment. When we are mindful, we are fully aware of our thoughts and feelings, but we do not let them control us. We observe them with a sense of detachment, as if we are watching clouds pass through the sky. They appear, they stay for a moment, and then they disappear. We don't get attached to the clouds, and we don't let them determine our inner peace. Mindfulness can be practiced in every aspect of our lives. Whether we are walking, eating, or talking to someone, we can bring our full attention to the present moment. When we are mindful, we can respond to situations with clarity and calmness, instead of reacting impulsively or emotionally. This ability to remain present and aware helps us stay grounded, no matter how turbulent the world around us may be. Another key to inner peace is compassion. When we face negativity or criticism, our first instinct may be to retaliate or defend ourselves. But Buddhism teaches us to respond with compassion, not only for others but also for ourselves. We are all human, and we all make mistakes. Instead of holding on to anger or resentment, we can practice understanding and kindness, even when others do not treat us well. Compassion is not just about being kind to others. It is about being kind to ourselves as well. In times of difficulty, we often forget to show ourselves the same compassion that we would offer to a friend. But we must remember that we deserve kindness and understanding, especially when life feels overwhelming. By practicing self-compassion, we can keep our hearts open, even in the face of adversity. Equally important is the practice of letting go. In Buddhism, the idea of non-attachment is central to achieving peace. We are constantly holding on to things, ideas, possessions, expectations, and when we lose them or when they don't go as we wish, we feel distressed. But the path to peace lies in letting go of these attachments. When we release our grip on the things that no longer serve us, we create space for peace to flow into our lives. Letting go does not mean that we become indifferent to the world or to our responsibilities. It means that we release our need for control and accept things as they are. We let go of the belief that we can control every outcome, and instead, we trust in the natural flow of life. Just as a leaf floats down a stream, we allow ourselves to be carried by the current, trusting that everything is unfolding as it should. The teachings of the Buddha remind us that the mind is the source of both our suffering and our peace. It is not the external world that creates turmoil, it is our reaction to the world. When we change our relationship with our thoughts and emotions, we change our experience of the world. The key is not to resist or fight against the negative feelings that arise, but to accept them, acknowledge them, and let them pass. Buddha once said, "You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger." Anger, resentment, fear. These emotions are not inherently bad. They are simply natural reactions to external circumstances. But when we hold on to them, when we let them control us, that's when they become harmful. By practicing mindfulness, compassion, and detachment, we can transform our negative emotions into opportunities for growth and peace. The path to inner peace is not always easy, and it is not always quick. It requires patience, dedication, and a willingness to face our challenges with a calm and open heart. But as we walk this path, we begin to realize that peace is not something we need to find. It is something we already have within us. We simply need to learn how to uncover it. In Buddhism, we are taught that the mind is like a garden. If we allow weeds of negativity, fear, and anger to grow unchecked, they will take over the garden, and it will become a place of chaos. But if we tend to the garden, pulling out the weeds and nurturing the flowers of peace, love, and understanding, we create a place of tranquility. The more we cultivate a peaceful mind, the more we find that peace becomes a natural part of our daily life. So, no matter what happens in the world around us, no matter how turbulent or challenging life may be, we always have the choice to return to our inner peace. The external world may be full of storms, but within us lies a calm and peaceful center. By practicing the teachings of Buddhism, we can learn to navigate the turbulence of life with grace and ease, always returning to the stillness that lies within. Remember, peace is not something to be attained. It is something to be recognized, nurtured, and allowed to flourish. As we cultivate peace within ourselves, we radiate that peace outward, creating a more harmonious world around us. And when we find inner peace, we find that no matter what life throws at us, we remain unshaken. Rise above negativity, a life of freedom and joy. Ah, dear one, you have journeyed far. Through teachings and reflections, you have uncovered the wisdom of staying unshaken in negativity. Now, let us take a moment to pause and gather all that we have learned. Let us rise above the struggles, the doubts, and the fears that keep us bound. Let us step into the lightness of freedom and the joy that comes when we are no longer prisoners of negativity. What does it mean to rise above negativity? It means to be like the lotus flower. The lotus grows in muddy water, yet it blooms untouched by the dirt. Its petals remain pure, reaching toward the light, untouched by the darkness beneath. This, too, is the nature of your mind. It can rise above the muddy waters of negativity, untouched and free. Buddhism teaches us that negativity arises not from the world, but from within. It comes from clinging, aversion, and ignorance. We cling to what we desire, we push away what we dislike, and we remain blind to the truth of impermanence. But when we see clearly, when we let go of attachment, soften our resistance, and embrace impermanence, negativity loses its power over us. Remember, life is like the sky. Negativity is like passing clouds. Some clouds may be dark and heavy, others light and fleeting. But no matter how fierce the storm, the sky itself is never harmed. Your mind, too, is like the sky. Negativity may come and go, but it cannot touch the vastness of your true nature. Think of those who criticize you. Their words may sting, but do they define you? If someone offers you an insult, you have a choice. Will you accept it, or will you let it pass by like the wind? The Buddha said, if someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does it belong? You are not bound by the negativity of others. You are free to rise above. Now reflect on impermanence. All things change. The sadness you feel today will fade. The anger that burns within will cool. The challenges you face are not forever. When you hold this truth in your heart, you begin to see negativity as it truly is, temporary, fleeting, without substance. Why let it weigh you down when it will pass like a shadow? Compassion is your greatest weapon against negativity. When someone is unkind, ask yourself, what pain might they carry? What struggles might they face? Respond not with anger, but with understanding. Compassion transforms negativity into an opportunity for connection. It lifts you above the fray and brings peace to your heart. Mindfulness, too, is your ally. Be present with your thoughts. Watch them arise and fade like waves on the ocean. Do not cling to the waves. Simply observe them. When you do this, you will see that negativity is not you. It is only a passing wave in the vast ocean of your being. And what of joy? Joy is not found in the absence of negativity, but in the strength to rise above it. Joy comes from knowing that no matter what life brings, you are capable of meeting it with calm, with wisdom, and with love. It is the quiet contentment of a mind at peace, unshaken by the storms of life. Let us return to the image of the lotus. Imagine yourself as this flower, rooted in the mud yet blossoming in the light. The mud represents the difficulties of life, the criticism, the challenges, the negativity. But the mud does not define the lotus. It uses the mud to grow, to reach for the sun. You, too, can use the challenges of life to grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Now, let me ask you, what will you take from this journey? Will you carry these teachings with you? Will you practice mindfulness and compassion? Will you let go of what no longer serves you? The choice is yours, and the path is yours to walk. Before we part, remember this. You are stronger than you think. You are more peaceful than you know. Within you lies a deep well of wisdom, waiting to be uncovered. Rise above negativity not by fighting it, but by letting it go. Be like the sky, vast and untouchable. Be like the lotus, blooming in the light. As we close this journey together, I leave you with this final thought. Life will always present challenges, but how you meet them is up to you. You have the power to choose peace over conflict, love over anger, and understanding over judgment. This is the path to freedom, the path to joy. And now, dear one, if these teachings have touched your heart, share them with others. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you subscribe. If you found value in these words, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Your support helps us spread these teachings far and wide, so more souls can find peace in their journey. Rise above, dear one. The world is waiting for the light you bring.